Alright, it's time to vent some grievances. What are your biggest D&D pet peeves? Let us know in the comments below. As a player, when other players refuse to allow their characters to make silly mistakes, or generally be wrong, or even just concede a point, a little humility does a lot to flesh out a character. Being a brooding badass 24/7 just seems exhausting. The party's cleric asking how spiritual weapon works every time their turn comes up. Other players who refuse to play nice with the party. Why are you playing a loner who always wants to split off from the party every single session, thus making twice as much work for the DM? It's a social game. If your character hasn't warmed up to the rest of the party within the first few sessions, you picked an inappropriate character concept for this setting. I am a changeling rogue who has shapeshifted into the person these guardians served, and I'm trying to convince them that I am their leader so that they don't attack us. Why the hell are you refusing to allow me to make a deception check, which I have expertise in, mind you, and instead forcing me to make a straight charisma roll with no advantage of any kind? Let your players use their talents, damn it! Players who try to make the game about them or inject themselves into situations where other players are trying to shine. Players who try to convince the rest of the party to play their playstyle instead of adapting their own. As an example, a fighter who tries to argue that the party druid should not be entering the fray and should focus solely on buffing the fighter. Or the wizard who insists the party barbarian should be his meat shield. Basically, it's an extension on the first point. DMs who punish players for trying to explore the world that was created for us by accusing us of trying to derail the adventure. Like, okay, yes, if we're refusing to engage with the adventure at all, I get it, fair point. But if you have us meeting with the king, and I want to know the current political climate because it might help us figure out if any of the nobles have cast their lot in with the cult of the broken prophet, I would much rather the DM just say, "It's not important to tonight's session. I'll get back to you," rather than, "Lord Bergen de Smorga is offended by your line of questioning and demands your immediate arrest." Also, DMs who hate particular classes and go out of their way to make the lives of PCs with that class miserable or impossible. Not as much of an issue with 5th edition, but if we were playing a 3.5 paladin with a DM who hated paladins, oh, oof. DMs who set out to do a campaign about something very specific, but refuse to let their players know beforehand so they can plan their characters around it. I once played a campaign where an NPC we met in session 1 was basically central to the whole campaign. It was almost as much their story as our PCs. Did the DM tell us beforehand so we could have a real connection to said NPC in some way? No. Did the DM switch gears when we clearly weren't that interested in said NPC or what they were doing? Also no. Did the DM twist said NPC just a little so it could connect to 2 of the PCs at least there'd be some reason to care beyond, "I guess this is the plot"? Triple no. Like, I don't mind linear campaigns. I don't mind DMs who have a rather set story in mind, even when it comes to NPCs' roles. But at least let me play along rather than just be the vehicle to tell the story about your world. Don't make me roll multiple persuasion, deception, intimidation checks to get through a single conversation. No, every time I talk does not mean I need to make another roll for that statement to land properly. If I already rolled a good persuasion check, accept that my character is successfully being persuasive. And please, don't punish my desire to roleplay by calling for multiple checks until I eventually roll low on one of them. Also, don't admit when you're fudging. I don't like fudging and don't do it as a DM. I know some DMs do, but at least give me the chance to live in ignorance and enjoy the victory on our merits as players. Players that refuse to do anything normal on their combat turns. Now, we had someone in our group that, whenever it came to their turn, would grill the DM on every object, enemy, what they were carrying, what they were wearing, etc., despite him already explaining these things. Then, he'd describe elaborate scenarios like, I roll over the table, grab a fork, and throw it at the guy. While the fork is stuck in him, I throw my pocket sand at him to blind him. Then, when he's blinded, I jab straight for his throat. This would eventually lead the DM to just ask for an attack roll, to which he would then ask if he gets advantage because the enemy is blinded, to which the DM would ask if he had any abilities that blinded, or if he had something to let him throw sand as a bonus action, which he knew the player didn't. This line of questioning about the player's made-up scenario would continue until the player would eventually just roll his normal attack in a huff. To his credit, the DM would usually work the scenario into his descriptions of what occurred, but the weird nitpicking for mechanical advantages got annoying very quickly. This player was also prone to near-suicidal levels of stupidity. Things like the DM saying, "There's a giant, gaping maw in the sand that appears to be waiting for prey," followed by the player saying, "I jump into it, yay!" He lost 4 characters over the course of the campaign. Gee, I wonder why. Now, this may be unpopular, but I really dislike the party being right all the time. I know it's a popular DM tactic to build off of what your players think might be happening in a town dungeon campaign, but to me, if the answer is wrong, let it be wrong. I dislike characters having long conversations with limited information about what could be out there, only to be proven absolutely correct. At least in a longer campaign, I don't think an unsatisfying dead end every now and then is a bad thing. Players who join a setting-specific campaign and refuse to look into the lore. We've had people who got exposed to D&D via Critical Role and Baldur's Gate. We expressed clearly that we're doing Eberron. We showed them the books, gave helpful links prior to Session 0, started posting lore articles on our Discord, specific to their characters and the upcoming encounters. Then we get characters shouting prayers to Faerunian gods! I can get irritated as a player when the DM narrates bad rolls and nat ones as comical incompetence. I'm happy with that stuff if I'm sold on it at Session 0. But if you sell me a serious game and I make a serious character to help bring tension into your game, please, for the love of God, don't undercut that tension with slapstick gags. If a fighter is having a bad fight, puff up the enemy. Don't deflate the fighter. They didn't whiff and swing wide, the enemy dodged or deflected, or intercepted the attack with their own weapon, armor, claws, hide, scales, etc. The bard didn't suck at singing their song. On a failed performance check, the crowd is just disheartened or racist or prefers a different instrument. They didn't suddenly start playing an out-of-tune lute or pull their voice box through sandpaper. When my DM acts confused, or like I'm dumb for being cautious about a situation, and not just running headfirst into things. Last night, for example, we were clearing out a cave and found a room with one random hobgoblin in the middle and 5 chests around the walls. Our warlock snuck up and killed the hob. So I, not trusting the random chests in the room, threw a firebolt at one just to see if it was trapped or a mimic or something. Got made fun of as the party was like, "Well, why not roll an investigation check?" I didn't do that because I'm a sorcerer with no investigation. And if it was trapped or a mimic, like hell, I want to get close to it. Like, we're literally in a dungeon delving for a quest. Why wouldn't I be slightly more cautious than normal? And sure, it apparently alerted the hobs in the next room, but hey, so be it. House rules that overly complicate something for the sake of realism. House rules that make it difficult or impossible to do something that's well within the rules and I expect to be able to do. An adversarial mindset, where the DM gets in my way when I'm trying to do something cool, or just making me roll for things where success or failure has no mechanical benefit to anyone. Trying to force real-world skills into my pretend game. Don't make me actually sing songs. Don't make me declare my character's actions within a certain time limit or determine success-failure based on how quickly I shout it out. Fumbles. DMs who say fumbles are realistic in combat have clearly never done any athletic activities in their life.
Gotcha DMing!
I don't need a DM to try to trick me with semantics or misinterpret what players are doing on purpose. If I say, I use healing word to heal the downed guy, and the DM says,
You didn't specify which downed guy, so you heal the enemy.
and acts like they're clever and I'm stupid because they
Tricked me.
guess what? I'm leaving. If I say I check for traps tapping my pole on the floor tiles as I go down the hallway, don't come back with,
You only said that in the first square, not in the second.
you know I meant the whole way down because I said the hallway, not the first 5 feet of the hallway. Joking is fine once in a while, but it better be obviously a joke. Not D&D, but in a Supers game once, I was trying to break down a door by picking up a rock and bashing the door handle. The DM, who is a repeat offender of this, narrated it as, Your character is a beginner hero, so you use your rock control power to launch a boulder through the door, crushing the civilians on the other side. And he was 100% serious until I said, No, I literally said I pick up a rock with my hands and gestured in person with my hand what I meant. My character doesn't have super strength, so it has to be a reasonably sized rock. Don't intentionally change what I said to try to make me sound stupid. I don't think I ever played with him since, to be honest. Yeah, screw that jerko. As a player, when other players aren't as attentive between turns and they have to figure out what they're doing, combat takes 4,000% longer than it has to. There is grace for new players, of course, thank you, but I mean for people who've been playing for years. Also, when people get irrationally angry when they roll poorly, a whole night of low rolls sucks, yeah, but the occasional failure in a pivotal moment can be just as engaging story-wise. I'm at a point where the people I want to play with need to be invested in the game, not just there because it's something to do. Players who never learn the game, their class, subclass, or anything like that. People who take forever on their turns. Unhelpfully butting into roleplay when another character is clearly having a moment specific to them. Capricious DM rulings. Insecure DMs in general. Super-powered homebrew NPCs, or even worse, DMPCs. Players who never play collaboratively. Who don't use support abilities. Who race to roll for checks even when they know someone else in the party is better at a particular skill. PCs, with relatively low stealth, always trying to go along with the rogue, whose floor is like 25 thanks to reliable talent. Simply because they need to be part of everything at all times. Oh yeah, players with FOMO really blow. As a player, playing with the guy who isn't listening to the DM for the story, but is instead listening for the DM to say something that they can make a joke out of. I'm all for silly games, but I've played with people who just use the playgroup as a sounding board for their bad improv. Too much RP time, huh? At various times over the years, our DM has given us plenty of time to roleplay. Sometimes it's really fun and develops our characters and deeper personal lore, whereas other times, it seems like the DM just wants us to waste time so we fill the session with RP rather than progressing the story. Is it laziness? Lack of preparedness? Sometimes it's not even the DM sitting in silence. It's when two players are getting really heavy into roleplay, but everyone else at the table is just spacing out and twiddling their thumbs. I grow tired of having to say so often, so we go to bed, or so we set off, for everyone to finally snap back to it like, oh yeah, let's get going, dog. Appropriately timed, of course, I don't cut people off, but when a moment of silence falls, it's time to wrap up. Okay, I get this one. I was just assuming that roleplay in general to you felt a little bit too much. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments below, as loudly as you can, what are your biggest D&D pet peeves? Don't worry, vent out the frustration. And if you ever want to support the channel, make sure to join our membership program. You get early access to videos, and you can keep the spiders away from us this summer. We love you all. Please be safe, happy, and healthy, and we'll see you next time. Toodaloo for now.